Okay, simple parabolas. We're still on the worksheet. This is part 3. And for the first time, we have the y value squared. And so how does this affect it? What does it look like instead of the x being squared? Remember, if the x is squared, it opens up. Now, remember when we did this before, it was solved for y. So we plugged in values for x. Now it's solved for x. So you're going to plug in anything you want for y. So you're kind of thinking backwards. So if y is squared, plug in a 0 there. 0 squared is 0. Plug in a 1, you're going to get 1. Plug in a -1, you're going to get 1. Okay, why? Because -1 squared is 1. And if you need to see it, let's plug in one more. I'm going to plug in 3. 3 squared is 9. And a -3 is still going to give me 9. So let's plug that in, see what it looks like. So we're going to go down here on my graph. Here's 0, 0. Here's 1, 1. And 1, -1, and 9, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 9, -3, 1, 2, 3. So again, this should be a nice, smooth, rounded curve. I almost, through my phone, made that look like a V. Ah, don't do that. So here's my nice, smooth curve right there. Notice he's still kind of branching out. So this right here is number 7. So notice he opens to the right. So if the y value is squared, it's going to opens right. My vertex was still 0, 0. And notice my axis of symmetry. This is my axis of symmetry right here because it's the same above as it is below. And although this is the x-axis, the equation of that line is y equals 0. So this one's y equals 0. Okay. What does this one do? It's messing with my y, and I'm adding 3, and I want you to just kind of experiment this, and after you get do a few more, write yourself some notes, because look right here. This is an afterthought. It's not messing with my y, it's afterwards. So let's try this one. What happens? Remember, we're going to plug in values for my y, and my favorite point's going to be -3. And then, of course, I love 0 as well. But if we plug in -3, the reason I like it, because it gives me 0. So 0 squared is 0. Okay? That should be my vertex. Okay, let's also plug in my other favorite point, which is 0. 0 plus 3 is 3. 3 squared is 9. So let's go ahead. I'm going to look to see what I already have. Since the y value is squared, I know it's going to open to the right. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to see what I have. I've got 0. What was my point? 0, -3. Whoop, down here. Almost graphed that wrong. And then I have 9, 0. Because I know it opens to the right, I've got something that looks like this. So I kind of want something on either side of here. So you know what? I'm going to plug in a -2. So, because I'm looking at the y's. If I plug in a -2, look what happens. -2 plus 3 is 1. 1 squared is 1. Okay, I might also plug in a -4. So what I'm doing is plugging in values close to this. Okay, we're thinking backwards. Remember earlier we'd plug in values close to x, but now because it's my y value squared, I'm kind of plugging in values close to these. So if I plug in a -4 plus 3, I get -1, but if I square it, I get a +1. So let's go ahead and we'll also graph those. 1, -2. So there's 1, -2. And we also had 1, -4. So you can see this right here is my axis of symmetry because it's the same on either side. Remember we had this point over here, so I'm going to aim. Nice smooth curve. And I'm going to aim. And by the way, one thing that's nice is I'm going to extend this out. And do you see how this is 1, 2, 3 above? I know it's going to be 1, 2, 3 below because it's symmetric, and that's just nice. I'm trying to do this through my phone, but it just gives me that other point to aim for. And by the way, this is number 8, so I'm going to label it. So look, here's my original one, and it went down 3. I know, crazy. Messes with your, remember why the y-axis goes up and down? So if it messes with your y, it is going to affect it vertically. And because it's on the inside, it messes with your mind. You would think it would go up 3, but it does the opposite. This makes it go down 3. So I want you to be real careful. Here is my vertex. My axis of symmetry. Look at this. This is so cool. This right here is my axis of symmetry, which is the line y equals -3. Okay, no coincidence there. Okay, there's so much reasoning going on right there. Okay, now if this made it go down 3, so that's a vertical shift, this should be a horizontal shift. Okay, and if it's an afterthought, it doesn't usually mess with your mind. Okay, it usually does just what you think it's going to do. It should go, let's check it, but it should go left 3. Let's plot some points and see. Remember, since the y value is squared, I'm going to plug in my values for y. So I'm going to plug in 0. 0 minus 3 is negative 3. Okay. Let's plug in 1. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. Let's plug in negative 1. Negative 1 is 1. Minus 3 is negative 2. And actually, that may be enough because well, let's plug in something else because we're not, yeah, we're seeing repeats right there. So we're okay. So let me get a different color, and we've got negative 3, 0. And we've got negative 2, 1. And we've got negative 2, negative 1. And I really feel like I would like to be up in here. So I'm going to maybe plug in one more. If I plug in 2, it's not going to be great, but do you see that if I plug in 2, about did it the wrong one, I'm going to get 4 minus 3, which is 1. So I've got the point 1, 2. And the only reason I did that is so I had just a little bit more to aim for there. And by the way, if that's up to, this one's going to go down to, so we're aiming right there as well. Okay, and then we'll just kind of, remember it's going to kind of angle out. And this right here is number 9. So here's my axis of symmetry, which is the line y equals 0. And my vertex is negative 3, 0. Right there is my vertex. All right, so I'm not going to work the rest of these. Hopefully you can do it in class. But see these negatives out front? Whoop. Yep. I want you to think. What do you think that's going to do? I want you to experiment and write yourself a little note.